Alright, so it's 4:17 here in Maryland, and we're just getting ready to fly to Texas for our second wedding. See you at the airport. Alright, we made it to the airport with plenty of time to spare, and that's a good thing because I didn't realize that you actually have to take out every camera from your bag. At least that was our experience this time. Alright, so today we're using the Peak Design Messenger bag as well as the Peak Design Everyday Backpack. And we're traveling to Austin, Texas to shoot a wedding. We'll be providing photo and video coverage. So we've got 3 cameras with us, the EOS R, R6, and RP. And we'll touch base with you soon. So today we're using the Canon EOS RP, the 24-105 f4 kit lens, and the Røde Wireless Go. This is a bag of candy. This is a unicorn. And this is our first travel wedding. And we are staying up in Maryland right now, but we are heading to Austin in about a month, and that's where we're gonna live. And so I've been advertising and scouring the Facebook groups for weddings in Austin, Texas, so that I could try and establish some roots there. And we were able to land this job. We were hired on for wedding highlight film. And right here I'm actually just showing that the Peak Design bags fit very well underneath the seats. So that's really great. You can have all your gear there and access it easily. Obviously, you've got Smog there on the iPad with the LaCie 4TB hard drive. And here you can see I'm just making some changes to the wedding video from a few weeks back. I've already delivered their video for that wedding, but what I'm doing is making a much shorter version for social media, and one that's just maybe like 10 seconds long as like a highlight reel, just to get, you know, some quick exposure and something that's really engaging, and only using the absolute best of the entire day, bringing it down to, like I said, you know, 5 to 10 seconds so it can really catch somebody and create a desire to see more. So I've never seen Chicago like this. We're flying to Chicago before we get to Austin, and that's a really cool building, that black one. It looks like the Tower of Sauron or something. I bet that's where they got that from. Yeah, so also this trip was an opportunity to test all of the vlogging skills, and the EOS RP was used for the most part with the 24-105 kit lens, f4, and also the Røde Wireless Go. I had a lot of fun making this video and a lot of fun practicing, you know, how to vlog all of the events and then try and put it all together. There is a lot of footage, but that's cool because, you know, again, it's good practice. So we made it in Austin. This is one of the first things that we saw when we got to the bride and groom's residence. A really beautiful snake that we ushered off the property. All right, so we made it out here to Tara's wedding in Elgin, Texas, and we're just taking some pictures of the rings. And today, Dragon S is using the Canon EOS RP with the 24-105 f4 and the Røde Wireless Go microphone. I've got the black Rapid Dual Breathe strap, and I'm using the Canon R6 with RF 70-200 2.8 and battery grip on my right, and on my left I've got the Canon EOS R with the 35mm macro 1.8, also with the battery grip. And so far I am absolutely loving it. I shoot exclusively in 1080p, and I also shoot RAW on the still side, and the R6 is going to have no trouble keeping up with that all day, every day. I really can be quite corny sometimes, but that's okay. I also like dad jokes. So one of the first things I like to do when I get to a space, and this being a wedding, is to bring out the drone and get some establishing shots before things get very active and pressed for time. So I'll just really overshoot and get all of the most beautiful areas and get a variety of shots, you know, one panning as I move forward from down to up and up to down and left to right and so on and so forth, and then a few higher altitude aerial shots of the property again, for the establishing. So now we're on the GoPro here, and one thing I really want to bring up, one thing that I absolutely love and am a little surprised by, is how often I can use the 70 to 200. So even indoors in these tighter spaces, I find that the 70 to 200 is often just the best lens you could possibly use. The backgrounds are typically very busy, or have been in my experience so far. And so having the ability to really isolate your subject in depth of field and also in focal length has proved to be very beneficial. I really just love the way the images look coming out of this lens as well, and I do think that the 70 to 200 offers just the greatest and most flattering focal lengths for portraits, faces, and just the human body in general. It's very true to life. It doesn't really distort or make you look larger than you might be. So here we are doing some shots of the groom getting ready, and I had actually had a mission for this. The bride had put a picture of his father when he was younger. I guess he passed away, and she had put a pin inside of his blazer and also sewn a patch, the Texas Come and Take It patch, and I actually had to prompt him to look inside because he was about to put it on without even seeing it, and I was there basically to capture his emotion response on video. And so at one point I was like, I think she left something in there for you, and at that point he took the blazer off and looked inside and really just had a beautiful moment there and a beautiful emotional reaction, and I was able to get that on camera and on photo and video side. So here I'm showcasing the hybrid photo video coverage as everybody comes down the aisle. So throughout the entirety of the day, I am switching between photo and video. And the way that I do this on the R6 is I have custom 3 shooting mode configured just like flexible priority, which is similar to aperture priority in most cases, and it's also right next to the movie mode. So on the dial you can manually switch between the two very quickly because they're right next to each other. What I also do is I actually use the mode of movie shooting when it comes to weddings or any footage that's going to be slowed down, and basically for the whole day I'm shooting in 60 FPS, and that's because I know that I'm going to slow it down 40% when I get into the timeline. And because I'm doing this, I really don't need to concern myself with having a shutter speed that's twice the frame rate. And really what I want the camera to do is to pretty much do all of the settings automatically. I want it to auto expose, and I really want it to just do all the thinking and controlling for me so that I can focus 100% on making sure I get the shot. Because when you're doing photo and video coverage, there's absolutely no time, no extra time. You really just, you have to be able to get these very short, just a few second windows of both photo and video. And I found a lot of success in this so far. And so what I'll do is I'll be in like aperture priority or flexible priority, which is kind of like manual but has some auto features if you want. And I'll just have the record button and the record settings, movie settings, are set to 60 FPS. And so I can literally just be pressing the shutter to take stills, and then when I press the record button, it goes into video mode at 60 FPS, and then I can go right back into shooting stills. So it just switches between the two really quickly. And if I'm not doing that, then I am using the actual dial, and I'm switching between movie. If I need all the controls, if I want to have a certain shutter speed, or if I want to make sure that I've got full control, I can do that. But you know, even when you just press record in flexible or aperture or one of these still sides, you can still control your audio. You can still control your exposure compensation. So if you think the camera's not exposing enough or too much, you can move that dial and change the overall exposure of your image. So really, if you're gonna be slowing down the footage in the timeline anyway, you really don't need like cinematic motion blur, and for the most part I think that's pretty overrated. I think that it is useful and it does provide for a pleasing image, but when you're slowing down the footage, you definitely don't need to concern yourself with having cinematic motion blur. And because of that, you can put your camera into a lot of automatic settings, which really gives you a very high speed ability to shoot hybrid coverage in a scenario like a wedding. So another thing that we've done here is my partner, my Dragoness, as she's so called, is recording the entire ceremony. And now she's only doing handheld because the most important thing that she's doing is recording the audio. So to the back right of the officiant, I actually have the Røde Wireless Go lying on the ground, just hidden behind some things, and it's capturing all of the audio from the ceremony. And what I'm thinking that I was going to do was have the ceremony audio in a highlight film and then have it just running throughout the entirety of the film, or a large portion of the film, and then have a lyrical song at the end. And this is actually what I did, and I will link to the wedding video that I made for this couple in the description below. It ended up being about 9 minutes, and I will also make a second version that is significantly shorter, maybe 2 more versions even, one that's like 3 minutes and then one that is just a few seconds long, maybe 10 seconds or 17 seconds long, to really have some engaging and very powerful cinematic moments throughout the day, just the best of the best essentially. And so here again, the whole time I'm switching between photo and video and just making sure that I get all the most important parts, the ring exchanges, the kiss, people's reactions and things like that. And I'll also link to some of the photos that were taken for this as well down in the description. And again, we're using the R6 right now with the RF 70-200, and that's on my right side on the Black Rapid dual breathe strap, and on the left side is the EOS R with a 35mm 1.8, and I do switch to that every so often to get more of an environmental portrait, or if I want to get some of the bridesmaids or groomsmen in the shot as well, I will switch to that 35, take a few steps back, and I'm good to go. For the most part though, I do use the 70-200 for almost everything for this wedding. And I also found that that was the case for the wedding that I shot about a month prior. Even in the close spaces, like a small hallway and then the brides in the small bathroom getting ready, I was still using the 70-200 because what I needed was not full body shots. I needed tight shots of the makeup being done, or an earring being put on, or a necklace being put on, or the back of the dress being fastened up. So the 70-200, by far my favorite lens. It's amazing, it has beautiful bokeh, it has beautiful subject separation, amazing compression, depth of field. It's an extremely flattering set of focal lengths for your couple or for your subject, so highly recommend it. And it's so versatile. I mean, 70mm is actually much wider than you might think. Also, you can put it into a 1.6 crop mode, and I have the depth of field preview button on the R6 configured to allow me to switch quickly the depth of field, and so I can change from full to 1.6 and then get over 300mm on the long end. So it's really great, and it really just adds to that just huge range of capability in the lens. And then obviously having the 2.8 aperture, very fast, very bright, and so you can use this all the way into the night, especially if you find yourself using flash or have some decent lighting for your subject. I did switch out of using this lens towards the end of the night, and I was using the 35mm 1.8 and also the new RF autofocus Samyang 1.4. The 85mm Samyang is a dream to use. I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend it. I think for a $700 price point, it's weather sealed, it's got a beautiful image, it focuses very quickly. I will say that it is a night and day comparison when it comes to the focusing speed and also the stability of the lens and the amount of deliverable images from the R6 to something like the R or the RP. The IBIS in the R6 and the dual pixel autofocus 2 really turn that lens into an absolute monster. And I really think that it is a close competitor to the Canon RF 85mm lens. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Samyang lens, definitely go and watch Dustin Abbott's review of this lens, because I mean, he really is singing the praises of this lens, and he's got a lot of great things to say and a lot of great experience and wisdom when it comes to lenses and manufacturers and reviews. So I highly recommend using him as a resource so that you can make the best decision towards getting your gear. And especially when you can save $2,000, so instead of spending $2,700 on the Canon version, now we have that Samyang version where it's $700. And with the IBIS and the R6 and the new autofocus, I mean, it really is a remarkable lens. And I will certainly be putting up some photos and video of that lens, especially once it gets darker. You can really see just how much capability you have when you pair those two things together. And so I am shooting compressed RAW. From many other people's experience, they typically say that they just can't tell the difference between RAW and compressed RAW. I don't know if this is a huge deal, but I do like the idea that it takes up a little less space. And if you really can't tell the difference, I think compressed RAW is probably fine. On the other hand, it's not that much more space to shoot RAW, I don't think. And having that bit of extra capability, that could be the deciding factor in whether or not you could use a photo. If you had a really awesome photo, but it was in a really challenging lighting condition, and you just needed as much range as possible in the editing experience, I mean, it could be a difference between RAW and compressed RAW. It could just be that little bit of editing capability that gets you that usable shot. And so, I guess it kind of just depends also on the speed of your editing machines, and depends on the size of your memory cards. But for the most part, it seems like people are saying that compressed RAW is good to go. They can't tell a difference, and it takes up less space. So that's what I'm using. I'm not shooting JPEGs. I'm really trying to keep my memory card capabilities as high as they can be. So I am using just compressed RAW, and I'm using 2 of the Sony TUF, like the red G marked cards. It's their best SD card. I'm using 2 64 gig cards, and then we also use these SanDisk Extreme Pro cards. So all the while here, I'm just bouncing back and forth between photo, video, photo, video. What I'll do is I'll make sure that I get, the angle that I'm at. I'll get both photo and video for every angle, for every sequence of every event, so every phase of the wedding, I get from as many angles as possible, photo and video. And I'll usually shoot photo until I feel confident that I've gotten at least a couple or a few usable images from one specific angle. Once I feel like I've gotten 2 or 3 usable images from a specific angle, I'll switch to video, or vice versa, and then I will switch angles, switch position. And again, I am using the battery grip on both of these cameras. I did find that the Black Rapid Dual Breathe strap was really comfortable, and I basically had it on from about 2 p.m. until about 10. So not the longest wedding ever, but definitely long enough to be able to, give some proper experience and feedback on the fact that it is very comfortable, it's very functional, and overall I think it's a very good system, and I would highly recommend it. I think that I am in the future going to pick up the Canon RF 28-70 and try using that and one camera. Instead of having 2 cameras, I will have one as a backup in the bag, but I will just be carrying one camera. It'll be the R6 with a battery grip with the RF 28-70 f2, and the idea is that I will have that on, and then I will occasionally switch to the 70-200 if I need that extra range, specifically during the ceremony. I mean, man, I do just think that it would be really hard to not use that 70-200. I really like staying out of the way. I want to capture candid experiences, and I don't want to be I don't want to be, you know, in somebody's way. I want them to enjoy their wedding, and I want them to enjoy their family and friends. You know, I want to be a positive contributor to the experience, but I also want to be as removed from it as I can so that, you know, they really have their space to enjoy, and I'm not interrupting the moments and emotions of the wedding day. And the 70 to 200 is absolutely the way to do that. And, you know, so far, I'm really questioning on, you know, why I wouldn't just use that lens for 90% of the wedding, you know, only occasionally switching to a wider angle if I absolutely need to. But I do think also in a lot of cases you can just take however many steps back in order to get that wider angle, and then you're good to go. So this was a really good drone shot. I was able to get, while they were doing this dance where pretty much everyone but me apparently knows the dance moves, and it looked really good from a drone perspective. So I'll bring out the drone typically 3 times, once earlier in the day, once midday, and then once in the evening if they got everything lit up outside, and that looks really good in the highlight films.
So we're still at the wedding and we have a little downtime, so I'm transferring all of the files from the camera that we have so far on the computer.
I had just learned this like maybe a few days prior. Somebody else on YouTube had recommended that, you know, if you've got a second shooter, there's typically a portion in the evening of a wedding where you've got some downtime, you don't need 2 people covering, and so you can use that time to offload all of your files onto your hard drive. And that was really great to be able to do that. We really were very efficient with the whole process, just the whole travel experience. Like when we were in the plane, when we were in the airport, we were basically able to be productive and work the entire time. Something that I really like about this job is that there's a lot of opportunity for offline work. You don't always have to be on a Wi-Fi, and so you can do all of your editing and file management offline, and that really just makes a big difference. Being able to, you know, have a workflow no matter where you are. You could literally be at the top of a mountain and you can be doing your job, and that's a pretty awesome job if you ask me. I was really impressed with that Samyang footage. It really just overperformed that night, in my opinion. So we are back at the Austin airport. The job is finished. Man, if you're ever in Austin and you get a chance to go to Juiceland, definitely do it. It's like an organic, fresh vegetable and fruit juice and superfood smoothie shop. Definitely a must-go place if you're in Austin. Atomic Habits and Ninja Future right next to each other, next to the 17. For sure, the universe is speaking to us all strongly. So again, it really is just an amazing job to be able to work offline and to work while you're mid-travel or at a park or wherever you might find yourself, especially on the iPad. I love that I can be walking around a park or my property or the house holding the iPad. I use the Apple Pencil, and you know, I can literally be editing or doing whatever else I do for work while standing up, while moving around. I do find myself currently sitting down a lot, and I'm on the computer a lot. You know, I'm starting up a new business, so there's a lot that goes into that, and I find myself in front of a screen a lot. My average screen time is, you know, like 5 or 6 hours right now. There's just, you know, a lot that needs to be done. But having the iPad is a good way to counter that a bit. Again, being able to, you know, walk around and edit and stand up and still use your device really is great. Showcasing a little bit more of the Peak Design bags. Again, that's the Everyday Backpack 20-liter version 2 and the Messenger 13-liter. So here we are. I'm getting ready to do a bit of editing on the MacBook. Got the cards out, and I'm going to start the culling process. I will also say that if you've got the R6, the R5, make sure that you have the latest version of Lightroom. I was not able to start the culling until I got back to the house and updated Lightroom because the R6 files were not recognized. Fortunately, we also had the EOS R and the EOS RP, so these photos that you see here being transferred are from those cameras, so we were able to get a jump start on the editing and the culling process. Now, the way that I've done the culling, is I will import all of the photos into Lightroom, and then I will quickly go through each photo and I will check or flag them. I'll typically check them and I mark them to keep or flag them. And then once I do the initial cull where I choose all the ones and I flag them, I will go back through them and I will star them according to what I plan to use them for. And 5 stars is obviously going to be where I use that photo to promote and is the primary album for the client, as well as social media posts and things. So those are all 5-star. And then 3 stars, I'll have a different use for. There'll be larger photos in the gallery. And then 1 star, I might do like a secondary set for some other reasons, or I'll use the stars as well to edit a variety of styles. I'm still quite new, and so offering multiple editing styles is something that I'm currently doing. I really do like the dark and moody, but I'm also into the light and airy. It just kind of depends on the couple and what they might want. And I'm really looking to book as many jobs as I can right now, so having some versatility in the demographic and the editing styles is very appropriate for me right now. This is just me talking about the Peak Design capture clip. Make sure you're always tightening down things. Tighten down your switch pod, tighten down the bolts on your Peak Design capture clip. Always make sure that you're tightening down, your tripod or whatever things are holding your camera from falling on the ground and exploding. Make sure you are regularly tightening those things down. Fortunately, mine did not fall, but I did realize that it was coming very loose, and so I was able to go ahead and remedy that before I had a catastrophic failure. So we're back in Baltimore here, landing, and that's going to bring our video to a close. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I absolutely love it. The comments have been great. I've been having so much interaction with you guys, and I love it. Have a beautiful day. Enjoy your life. And there are more videos coming fast, coming soon. Doing some gear reviews, 70-200, Samyang R6, EOS R, RP comparisons, all kinds of cool stuff. This guy's not even in slow motion, and he is slow. Enjoy your life.